is doing well in pink of health, and the preparation is going very well too. I also hope you can hear and see me now. Okay, great then. A very warm welcome to all of you, dear students, in this session of CSAT Reading Comprehension, and a very good evening once again. So now, as you can see on your screen, in this lecture, we will cover one of the most important, yet most dreaded, most feared, and the most neglected segment of Civil Services Aptitude Test of CSAT, which is this most feared, most neglected, and most dreaded topic in the CSAT exam. Now, majority students will agree that it is reading comprehension. Now, this is an irony as well, because a lot of people, they have this misconception or a myth that reading comprehension is something that we should ignore, It's better we prepare for mathematics. It's better we prepare for reasoning, data interpretation and all. Why RC? Why should we waste our time on RC when we know that it is hardly scoring? It is not very scoring. It is very difficult. And you will agree with me that a majority of students still feel, they continue to believe that it's impossible to, understand the kind of passages which UPSC asks here. It's just impossible. You don't even know whether this is English. Sometimes I get responses like, ma'am, it looks like German and French or something. It is, what kind of English is that really? And they expect us to do this. So agreed. I do agree that the difficulty level of CSAT RC passages has gone up. Definitely it is becoming difficult, challenging and tough. Yes, I agree. It is also very subjective at the end of the day, but still a majority would believe that the level has gone up, specifically after 2015 onwards. On the one hand, the length of the passages is becoming smaller and smaller. They are hardly sometimes 5 to 6 lines. On the other hand, the difficulty level has definitely gone up. So what do we do in this case? Like for those people who still feel that it is a good decision to leave behind reading comprehension, I just have a small question for them. So when you know that in the previous few years, out of the total 80 questions of CSAT, around 25 to 32 questions will be and can be from reading comprehension, then why do you think that leaving behind this segment is a good idea? I don't think so. I think it is putting ourselves in a risky situation. And obviously, we do have a lot of evidence, where students who are otherwise very well prepared, those who have worked really hard for other papers of UPSC. Their optional is really strong. They are very well versed with GS, but still they end up not qualifying for CSAT. And that is really unfortunate, isn't it? That when your other preparation or all your other papers are well prepared, and just because of a qualifying paper like CSAT, you end up missing an entire attempt. Now that is heartbreaking. And that is not something that we want to happen to anyone. In that case, a much wiser decision then will be taking the reading comprehension slightly more seriously. Trying to understand that it is not that this reading comprehension is tough per se. It is challenging per se. There is something lacking in our preparation, our strategy. Why? Because there is another evidence to believe that those students who have followed the 5-step methodology that we are going to talk about in today's class, and those who have thoroughly practiced the previous year question papers of CSAT. Now, I don't really mean, passages from 2011 and 12, but say from 2013 to 2022. Now, those people who have been practicing these passages seriously and those who have taken the 5-step method seriously, they have registered a lot of benefit. They have registered success. They have come back and said and admitted that CSAT is now something we aren't scared of anymore. And reading comprehension is something we actually look forward to. It is scoring. It is not that bad. So let's also believe in this. And on a very positive note, let's begin preparing for reading comprehension then. But there are 2 things that you must We will talk about it in today's session. That's the mystery, the 5-step formula. Just wait for that. Okay, so to begin with, and before I elaborate on my discussion here, there is a promise that you need to give me, in all sincerity. Now, the one promise, basically it's 2 promises, not just one. One promise is that till date, before today's lecture, like 4:05 p.m. today on 26th November 2022, whatever you know about RC, whatever you have listened to, whatever you've heard, whatever you've done, just forget about it. Just forget about everything you have done in RC or regarding RC till now, until now. Just don't remember that. Make a fresh beginning. Let's begin with a very open mind here. Another promise that I request you to make with me is that please stay through the lecture. There are phases in the lecture where you feel everything is going very exciting, we are enjoying solving. Then there will be certain stages you will feel, oh my God, this is difficult, it is boring, that much for RC, no, I'm not doing this, let it be. So let that negativity not overpower you. It's just a matter of 2-3 lectures here. You yourself will feel the change, okay? Otherwise, I'm here answerable for you all the time until your next prelims. So do not give up, stay through the lectures, and please take this method really seriously. That's all. In return, my promise is that after taking these lectures, you will definitely feel that RC is not something you had thought it was. You will find it much easier, much doable, and very enjoyable. So now with this introduction and a couple of promises, something that I took from you, something that I gave you, let's now finally start with this lecture properly. So we are talking about the Civil Services Aptitude Test, or the CSAT exam, which is also your General Studies Paper 2 in UPSC prelims. A kind of exam which is obviously objective type, which carries multiple choice questions, and total number of questions that you will see is 80. Now these 80 questions, of course, are coming from various topics or various segments. For example, arithmetic questions come here, data interpretation comes here, reasoning comes here, decision making comes here, but more importantly, or most importantly, reading comprehension comes here. How does reading comprehension come in the CSAT exam? Anywhere between 25 to 32 out of total 80 questions can be taken from reading comprehension, where a really small passage shall be given to you, followed by 4 options, out of which you need to select the most appropriate option. Now, I never said the right option. Mark my words. I'm not saying out of these 4, you need to select the right option. In CSAT, there is no option which is wrong. Neither is there any option which is right as such. You have to select the most appropriate option which tallies with your passage, or which describes what is given in the passage. That's one thing. So you need to select the most appropriate, relevant, and most logical option out of these 4. On the other hand, sometimes they also give you a question where you will see a small passage, and based on these passages, you will be given 3 statements, sometimes 4 statements. Now, you will have to see these 3-4 statements and then select from the answer choice which of these are valid and which of these are not appropriate. So either way the question can come. Now, given that we have total 80 questions in CSAT and the minimum marks allotted to this paper is 200, which broadly also means that 2.5 mark has been allotted to each and every question here, which means every question is a heavyweight question, which also means since there is negative marking, let us not take risk. Let us not try to solve a question which we are not confident in. It doesn't make any sense at all. Because marking a wrong answer is way more dangerous than leaving behind a question. Agreed? So that's why I feel never do guesswork, never do kind of imaginative work in at least reading comprehension segment. See, there are 2 things. Either you know the answer or you do not know the answer. So never take risk and never do guesswork in CSAT. That is a big no. It's a forbidden fruit. Okay. Now, another thing is this is just a qualifying paper. You know that. It is not like the marks that you obtain in CSAT will be added up to your final score in UPSC written. No. It's just a qualifying paper, which means out of 200, 66 marks you need to obtain. To some people, it seems like a very, very easy target. Oh, what's the big deal? 33% out of 200, anybody will get. But that's not true, sadly. This is UPSC exam. And no wonder a lot of students have not been able to get even the 66 mark. It's true. Every year, 20 to 35 really well-prepared students come and say, and the story is really sad, we just could not qualify for CSAT. We thought, what is the big deal in getting 66%? So since the paper is on the difficult side, although it is purely qualifying, but hard work and a strategic preparation is absolutely mandatory here. All right. The total marks that you get to do this paper is 2 hours. And this is our discussion on broadly what the CSAT exam is like. Now, let us go a little bit more microscopic. Let's proceed now with reading comprehension as such, which is our job here in this class. Now, to those of my dear students who feel that ma'am is saying so much that, you cannot pass without reading comprehension, and reading comprehension is the backbone of CSAT. Is she just saying like that? Is she simply saying this to inspire us? Does she only want that we should attend the lecture? Is she saying this for her own benefit? Not like that. Because right here is the proof for you, my dear friends. From 2011 to, in fact, 2022. This is a brief list here, my dear friends, of all the questions that have come from reading comprehension in your CSAT exam. Let's have a look at the initial years when CSAT was newly launched. That is 2011, when the CSAT journey actually started. Even at that point of time, the UPSC examiners wanted you to do 27 questions out of 80. 27 questions based on RC out of total 80 CSAT questions. Just imagine. Look at the next year itself. 32, again 32, which means a considerable, more than 1/3 of the paper has been given to reading comprehension. Now let's forget about the past and let's see the recent years itself. Now if you have a look at 2019, now 30 questions out of 80 belonged to what? Reading comprehension, which means literally 1/3 of the paper, more than that. 2020, whereas the number of questions was 25, but 2020 is supposed to be one of those dreaded years in UPSC history for CSAT. A lot of you, in case you have given this exam, or you may have heard from your friends or other colleagues that 2020 CSAT was like an atom bomb dropped on the students. Like, let alone students, even the teachers were scratching their heads when we saw the RC portion. What's wrong with these people? Are they trying to select the students or they are trying to reject them? What kind of passages have they given? They are so tough. Like, even the teachers had a very tough time. I'm being very honest with you. Even I'm telling you personally, I have read those passages eight times and then finally got the right answer. Like, yeah, finally, now I understood what are they trying to say. And all along I was like, how will I face my students now? Till 2019, the level was very average. 2020, suddenly the level is atom bomb level. And all the students are coming back and saying, ma'am, and I'm like, that's UPSC. I'm sorry, this is so challenging. So, but then after 2020, we have seen 2021 and 2022, which were not so difficult, luckily. So the level again evened out. But 2020, as you will see in this lecture today, as we will do the practice, today your evening is dedicated to CSAT completely, RC completely. So you will see these 2020 passages, and even you will tell me the same thing, ma'am, you were right. And these are challenging, these are tough. So sometimes that happens and we need to be prepared for these accidents, The level of passages suddenly goes up. And this, I'm telling you one more thing, the 5-point formula which we have devised for you, for your RC of CSAT, has also only been developed properly after 2020. Before that, I used to teach only 3-step formula. I never thought the other 2 steps are important, but 2020 came as an eye-opener. And now we believe that, no, this complete 5-step formula is mandatory. We cannot do without it. Right? So that is why 2020 was an eye-opener. And despite the fact that just 25 questions came, they were like, I'm telling you, Russia-Ukraine war kind of situation. Oh my God, what is happening really? But 2021 and 2022 were still manageable. Again, in 2022, you saw 27 questions from RC. So it's right here in front of you. Every year, come what may, after seeing the average of all these years, As I said, 25 to 32 passages will definitely come in CSAT exam. So the disclaimer is that never ever take reading comprehension lightly, otherwise you are in the risk zone. Agreed? You agree or not? Do you agree after seeing this data or not? Pardon me for sipping on some water, but my throat makes it mandatory that I keep sipping this, so forgive me for that. Yes, a lot of my dear friends say yes, we do agree. We do agree that it is a considerable portion of CSAT exam. Like literally 1/3 question will come from here. I will share my email as well. Don't worry, I will. I will. Okay? Thank you. So now then let's begin. Let's proceed. Just two things we have discussed till now. One thing is that how does the CSAT paper look? The number of questions and negative marking, and you should never do guesswork. That's what I told you. Another thing I told you here, you don't have to select the right answer. You have to select the most appropriate answer. Okay. Now, another thing I told you was that at least 1/3 paper will be comprised of reading comprehension. So do take it very seriously. Now, let's actually see what is the reading comprehension in CSAT exam. Now, please listen very, very carefully, my dear friends. Even before we start analyzing the previous year UPSC questions, okay, I will increase the size of the pen. Done, sir. I will. Okay. So now, even before we start analyzing the previous year UPSC questions, the very, very important thing to understand here is that what is reading comprehension all about? What is reading comprehension? What do we even mean by the word reading comprehension? A lot of students and a lot of people will feel reading comprehension is nothing but a passage comes and based on that, a question comes. That's reading comprehension. But no, that's not true. That's just one manifestation of comprehension. But the word comprehension means to understand, to try to understand something. Now, this is a process. Yes, absolutely. Trying to understand the meaning. Okay. Now, comprehension means just trying to make a sense of things around you. All right. Now, as soon as we are born, say, for example, a newborn infant, somebody who's just taken birth, even that little child also tries to do comprehension. Who's my mother? Who's my father? Where am I? Kind of thing. A 2-year-old toddler comprehends as well. We as adults are also doing comprehension, and that too 24/7 we are doing comprehension. 24/7. Until and unless we are asleep or we are not conscious, we are doing comprehension. Because comprehension means anything. When you are listening to the news debate, you are trying to do comprehension. That's just audio comprehension. Right now, when you're listening to me through your audios, you are still trying to do comprehension. You are trying to understand what I'm saying. That's also comprehension. That's listening comprehension, of course. When I'm trying to see, I'm traveling on the road and I'm seeing there is an accident that has taken place. I'm trying to understand what's going on. Why is the crowd there? Who got hurt? I hope nobody passed away. I hope nobody is critical. That's also comprehension. When I pick up my Hindu newspaper or Yojana magazine and I'm trying to read a piece from there, and that is also comprehension. The only thing is when I'm reading and trying to understand, that's reading comprehension. Otherwise, I can just see, that is visual comprehension. I can try to see what all is there in this room. How big is the AC? How big is the table? Where is my water glass? All this is comprehension too. I'm just viewing, visual comprehension. When you're listening, it's audio comprehension. When you are reading and trying to understand, that's reading comprehension. And we do this 24/7. So which means that the post that you read on Facebook in the morning, the comments that you see on Instagram in the morning, the WhatsApp messages that you scroll through the very first thing in the morning, we all know it. It's not a secret anymore. Everybody does that. Before sleeping also, we are hooked up on WhatsApp. That is reading comprehension because I'm trying to read and understand what's going on, really. So reading comprehension is not at all difficult. It is something you are doing right since birth. Then why do we get so scared when it comes to CSAT exam? Why? This is something we do all the time. Then what's the fear really? Come, let's beat that fear then. Okay, so reading comprehension is nothing but the art of actively reading the information that is written in front of you and then trying to understand what is this information telling you. But please mark the word actively reading. I'm not just saying reading, I am saying actively reading. Now, a lot of people, a lot of other students might tell you that reading comprehension means you have to quickly read the passage. Nowadays, there is a modern trend which says you have to skimp through the passage. A lot of people on YouTube are giving these nonsense tips. I don't know why. That please learn to skimp through the passage. Please learn to skim through the passage. Now, what is going on? We cannot skim through the passage in RC. In CSAT, at least we cannot do that. We have to actively read the passage. Actively reading means with the same sincerity like with we reach our girlfriend or boyfriend's WhatsApp messages. One word also we don't want to miss, otherwise breakup can happen, right? Similarly, with the same sincerity, you have to read the CSAT RC passage. One word also should not be missed from the first word to the last word. The first line to the last line, read it thoroughly. That is what we mean by actively reading the passage, okay? Only then can you understand the CSAT RC passage. Now, another question might come that, ma'am, if we start reading from the first sentence to the last sentence, will we have the right time? Will we have enough time? Yes, you will have, because reading comprehension of CSAT are not lengthy passages. Please look at the previous year question papers, or I will only show you sometime later. They are very small passages, and that's why. Yes, right now UPSC is as good as your girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever. The utmost dedication, the love of your life. That's why. Take it very seriously. Yeah. So now, the passages of CSAT reading comprehension are also known as squat passages. What is a squat passage? A squat passage is a passage which is under 6 lines. It is very small in length. And all CSAT passages are squat passages, which means you can thoroughly read it from one word to the last word without wasting time. So do that. Actively reading. Now, if reading comprehension is about actively reading the passage word by word, what is the target behind this reading? Fine. Ma'am said, squat passage will come. I have to read it. Okay, I will use another pen. The pen is causing a lot of issue with some of my dearest friends. They don't like the color. Somebody doesn't like the size. I hope this makes you happy. Much more visible. Yellow, yes. The bright color yellow. All right, I've done it now. So now, if ma'am says, please, reading comprehension means read the passage very, very actively, very, very thoroughly. Okay, we are doing it. What next? What should I do now? You should understand that. Now, please listen to this very carefully, my friends. Listen to this very carefully. Now, every passage in this universe, every passage in this world, whichever exam you are sitting in, if it has a passage, then do remember my words. This passage has 2 aspects to it, okay? 2 aspects to it. One aspect is the main idea or the main point that the passage is trying to make. And the other aspect is the supporting ideas or the secondary ideas, okay? While there is only one main idea of every passage, there can be many secondary or many other supporting ideas. Therefore, the main idea of the passage or the central point of the passage or the main point which the passage is trying to convey to you will always contain some noun. What is noun? Let's go back to school level grammar. Noun is the name of a name, place, animal, thing. Also, feeling. Okay? Also, place. Delhi can be a noun, city can be a noun, woman can be a noun, pen can be a noun, beauty can be a noun, honesty can be a noun, abstract nouns. So, noun can be any of this. Now, main idea, yes, abstract noun. So, main idea generally always contains some noun that is being referred to. While the supporting ideas generally always consist of either the adjective or the verb, which means the secondary ideas will always try to describe something about this noun. Maybe if the noun or the main idea of the passage is talking about, say, let's say, natural beauty, okay? That's also noun. Beauty is an abstract noun. Natural beauty of Himalaya mountains. So if this is the noun, the passage will have many, many supporting ideas which will describe the Himalaya mountains' beauty. For example, it is pristine beauty. It is very, very lush green beauty. Himalayas are very, very young mountains. They are constantly undergoing changes. They are very prone to landslides and earthquakes. A lot of people are doing adventure sports in the Himalaya. Himalayas are now also suffering because of pollution and overpopulation. So all these are adjectives. What is the, you can say, descriptive words about the main noun Himalaya. So do remember, in every passage, while you will have one main idea, which is generally some kind of noun, there are many other supporting ideas built up around this main idea. And the supporting ideas will always try to describe you something regarding this noun. If the passage is talking about a man, say, for example, a gentleman, or say, let's say, if the passage is talking about Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, that will be the main idea. While the supporting ideas can be the adjectives used for Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, like he was the father of the Constitution, he started the Dalit movement in India, he was a visionary, he believed in equality of women, he believed in education of the backward classes, whatever. But these are all adjectives about him and verbs about him. What he did, how is he did good thing, he did bad thing, right? So supporting ideas are always about either adjectives regarding the noun or verbs regarding the noun. So what your job in CSAT RC is to identify the noun or the main idea, because 99% questions of CSAT exam are generally talking about the main idea, not the supporting ideas. Barely 1 or 2% questions will ask you supporting ideas, hardly any. Majority questions, if you see the previous year papers, will always talk about the main idea of the passage. So learn how to identify the main idea of the passage. Now you might ask me, ma'am, it sounds very theoretical, but how will we do this? Wait, hold your horses. That's why I'm here today. I will help you how to identify the main idea. Till then, understand the next point about CSAT RC. Now, once you understand the main idea of the passage, which is also known as the crux of the passage. What is the crux? The main idea behind something. There is another very good word for crux. It's called gist. Gist, what is the passage trying to say? Again, the main idea behind the passage. Once you have attacked that, once you are able to decode that, now you will proceed to answer the question that is based on the passage or based on the text of the passage. Now, there are two more things here that are something you should pay attention to. Many passages, most of the passages, my dear friends, also will have some theme behind them. Theme? What is the theme really? Like all us human beings come from some or the other background. I can say I come from Uttarakhand. I can say my friend comes from Arunachal Pradesh. I can say my other friend is coming from Uttar Pradesh. I can say my another friend is from Delhi. I can say I belong to a tribal community. I can say my friend belongs to the you can say the Buddhist community, or there is another friend of mine who's an Anglo-Indian. Okay, some is north side, some is west side. We all have backgrounds. Similarly, the passages also have backgrounds. They are also coming from somewhere. But where are they coming from? What is the background of these passages? That is something you must focus upon. Now, generally, the passages in CSAT come from the following backgrounds or themes. The most popular one since the last 7-8 years is ecology or geography. Ecology or geography. Because most of the passages in CSAT will talk about either some environmental problem or some geographical concept. Like, for example, they can tell you about global warming. A lot of passages talk about global warming. Now, some passages also talk about, say, for example, Arctic Ocean. Some passages will talk about Antarctica. Some passages can talk about Himalayas. Any noun, any geographical area. They can talk about deforestation. They can talk about carbon trading. They can talk about carbon footprint. They can talk about marine pollution. All these topics which are related to ecology or geography are generally coming from the ecology or geographical theme. Very easy to identify and very common in UPSC CSAT. Now, one more thing. Those of students or those dear students who are in the practice of reading Hindu newspaper editorial page or those who are in the practice of reading Economic Times editorial page have an added advantage here, a big advantage. Also, those friends who have geography as a subject, those who have disaster management as a subject, or those who have economics as a subject, generally they have an added advantage because these are practically the themes which the passages are taken from. In fact, you won't believe me, literally every year, at least 3 to 5 CSAT passages are directly picked up from editorial page of the Hindu or the Indian Express or the Economic Times or the Yojana magazine. Word by word, they are picked up from there. So that's an added advantage used to reading those articles, I always tell you that. Now, another What is carbon footprint? So, okay, this is not our point of reference here, but still, now that you're asking, carbon footprint means the kind of carbon emission which one particular person or which one particular thing does. For example, if my consumption and my lifestyle is such that I secrete, say, about 2 tons of carbon, for example, in 6 months. That's my carbon footprint. How much carbon is one particular individual or object releasing? That's a carbon footprint. All right. Now, yes, wetlands, a lot of passages, are coming from wetland. No, it's not true. It's not true. We cannot say that people with geography will have an upper hand. Not really. Anyone who's reading these editorial pages will have an upper hand. They will. Anyone who has geography, for example, economics, or for example, disaster management, may find a lot of similarity in their subject matter and the passages that you see here. It doesn't mean others can't do it. Yes, we can, by improving our GS quotient. Yes, we can do that. Okay, everything has a carbon footprint, a bulb, a rice field, and so on. All right. The next prominent area from where the passages are taken happens to be world and Indian economy. Like, a lot of passages will be based on economic issues. They can be based upon agriculture, labor. They can be based on things like your GDP. Why is the GDP growing so slowly suddenly after COVID-19 pandemic? It can be about unemployment. It can be about lower participation of women in the labor force in India. It can be about the problem of loans and subsidies for the farmers. It can be about MSME. Okay, it can also be about the startup in India. It can be about some yojana of the government like National Rural Livelihood Mission, like, for example, Startup India Mission, anything. So anything related to economics or economy, finance, money, banks, national income, import, export, all of this will come here in the economy-based passages. Poverty, absolutely, underemployment, and whatever you can name. So that's the second area, from inflation as well. That's the second area from which topics are taken. Now, third area from which the topics come is health and nourishment. This is about any passage based on science or general science. Generally, UPSC is truly, madly, deeply in love with malnutrition. I don't know, for some reason. They are truly, madly, deeply in love behind malnourishment. Okay, they really love this topic. They are also deeply in love with problems of hunger. And they're also really deeply invested in problems such as food security. A lot of topics are based on these. Lot of topics. Every year, 1 or 2 will definitely come. Malnourishment, hunger, starvation, child mortality rate, maternal mortality rate, the problem behind, a public ration card or food insecurity that we are having, or undernourishment, protein hunger. Definitely topics come from here. Public distribution system, why not? So all these things regarding food. Also, in health and nourishment, UPSC does give you a lot of passages on diseases. Diseases like tuberculosis, diseases like increasing, again, as I said, malnourishment, cancers. Why have they been linked to plastic consumption or plastic usage? Again, it could be about something as prominent as, emotional or psychological diseases. So anything that covers diseases or some disorders here in human body also come under health and nourishment. Now, these three these three broadly are the segments or the themes from where majority passages come. Then sometimes the passages can be based on social issues. Social issues, anything that is related to your society, something that's happening around you on a daily basis can come in the form of a passage. For example, education. For example, gender violence. For example, the problem of Indian joint family. For example, issues like, again, poverty can be covered here as well. You can have an issue regarding inequality in India. Or you can have an issue regarding caste system that's prevalent in India, problems of tribals in India, any such thing, urbanization or violence or communalism, any such thing can come under social issues. Obviously, after the first three, this is the fourth segment from where the passages might come. Now, the remaining three are overall rare. They are the rare areas. From here, you can expect one passage per year or maximum 2, not more than that. For example, they can give you a quotation by Plato, or they can give you a quotation by Mahatma Gandhi, Aristotle, a quotation by, for example, Rabindranath Tagore, any quotation, and then that is the passage itself. You have to answer questions based on that quotation. That's all. That's generally philosophy passage. Sometimes the passage is about politics, like elections in India, democracy. What are the problems of corruption in India? What is the problem regarding cooperative federalism? A hot topic in UPSC right now. Cooperative federalism, Niti Aayog. Sometimes the passages can come from here. Last and the most rarest of rare is narrative passage, which is a story. A small story or the piece of a story. This is the easiest to understand. That's why it doesn't come also. Easiest to understand. Why? Because here you have no numbers, no data, nothing to remember, just a story. So very easy to understand. While in the economics topic, you can have a lot of data. For example, the numbers given by International Monetary Fund, the numbers given by World Bank or Niti Aayog or your government or any such thing. So depending on the kind of passage, you will also develop a perspective regarding the passage. And the very first line of the passage will be able to tell you that which is the theme behind the passage. Remember my words, which is the theme behind the passage. Now, somebody might ask me very fairly that, ma'am, what is the necessity? Or why are we trying to understand themes of the passages? Are they even important? Yes, my dear, they are. Because I don't have an answer right now. Exactly by 4:50, I should be able to answer the question. Okay, remember the question. Why do we need to know passages from which theme? Give me some time. I'll answer you the question as we proceed with the content here. Okay. Now that you know what exactly is the CSAT RC, what is comprehension, what is reading comprehension, what will you do here? The passage is what? The main thing here, the main job of a student here is to understand the main idea or the main noun of the passage. Supporting ideas are not so important because they are generally describing the main idea. Now, another thing is, please try to also familiarize yourself with the tone of the passage, because tone of the passage is the emotion of the author. If the author is angry, then the tone behind the passage will be very angry kinds. Maybe the author is criticizing the government, then the tone will become very angry. The government is a failure, it doesn't do anything, it has not helped with the problem of increasing pollution and stuff like that. That's an angry tone. Similarly, if the author is very happy, the author is celebrating something. You know that in India, we have come way ahead of our previous problems now. Women are becoming empowered. There is better investment in education. So this becomes a happy tone, a cheerful tone. Similarly, tone can be sarcastic, it can be informative, it can also be sometimes very, very bitter or guilty if the author is guilty about something. So tone of the passage is nothing but the emotion of the author behind writing the passage. You don't have to answer a question based on tone, but do try to develop a perspective regarding tone. It helps you in understanding the flow of the passage better. All right. Having said this and having spoken about so far about the CSAT exam, there is one small disclaimer I would like to make at this point, that my dear friends, a lot of students, they often mail me or they often tell me that, ma'am, my English is not like superb, it's not very good, and my reading speed is specifically very, very slow. Okay, I read, but I read very slowly. Is that a negative point? Will that ruin my chances of solving CSAT RC? So I always say, if you read fast, it's good for you. But if you read slowly, then it's best for you. Then definitely you will crack CSAT RC, because the slower you read, the better your chances are of getting selected in CSAT RC segment. Why? Because CSAT RC is the only place where speed is secondary to understanding. Here, the main challenge is to understand the passage length and breadth, to read the passage carefully, top line to the last line, to understand the main theme or the crux or the main idea behind the passage. Speed is not important. Why? Because even if you have to solve total 27 passages, but your reading speed is slow, but you are reading the passage very, very thoroughly, and you are able to solve only 15 passages, it is good, no problem. Then read, standing all 27 wrong, it's much better to solve only 15, but do them sincerely, read the passage thoroughly, so that it is at least accurate. So here in CSRC, thing is about accuracy. You can get 15 out of 20. That will improve the passage spoiling, because this is definitely an area where you cannot rush through the passage. You cannot. You need to devote time to the passage, and you need one sincere reading. I'm not saying 2, 3, but one sincere reading is mandatory here, okay? So do remember, speed definitely will not matter as much as accuracy does in the RC segment of your CSAT, right? This much. Having the theme of the passages, let us now proceed with one small thing. Now, after doing this much discussion, what are the critical points, or what are the most important things a candidate should remember before opening the question paper or before starting to solve the RC segment? The very first thing is, how many types of questions are asked in CSAT reading comprehension? Only one type of question will be asked? Or how many types of questions? What kind of questions will generally be asked in the CSAT RC segment? Now, that's a very important thing to remember here. What are the kind of questions that shall be asked? Okay. So in general, no. 7, 8 types, no. 6, no. 5, no. In CSAT reading comprehension, only type of questions are asked. Okay. Just 3 type of questions. Okay. Just 3 types. All right. The next thing is, if CSAT is about understanding the main idea of the passage, CSAT is about reading the passage thoroughly, if CSAT is about 3 types of RC questions, how should we solve them? What should be the strategy for answering each of these 3 kind of questions? What's the strategy? So that's why we will talk about the strategy. Last question, which we shall take up in the next lecture. How should we improve our comprehension, accuracy, and ability? A lot of my dear friends have confusions regarding how should I improve my vocabulary? How should I improve my